Hey everyone, I am Stirp, and today's video is a review of the book The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. Just a heads up, this video is absolutely going to have spoilers, so just an FYI. I'm new to the Paul Tremblay party and to this book. It only took me 2 days to read this book. I paused and stopped to feed my kid and to take a shower sometimes. This book came out last year and I just got to it this year. I'm just going to start off by saying this has been the best book that I've read so far this year, and I absolutely give it 5 stars, and I'm going to tell you exactly why with spoilers. This book is one of the most fast-paced books I've ever read. It is suspense, thriller, horror, all of those things wrapped into one, and it just keeps you going from beginning to the very last page in the end. And I could not put this book down until I was finished with it. Everything was put on hold, even my own writing. Guilty. If you're into thriller, suspense, any movies or stories or books that are about home invasion, then you're gonna love this. But again, he definitely takes it and twists it a bit and gives you a different story altogether, which I thought was quite interesting. Here's what I loved about the book and why I give it 5 stars. The pacing was amazing. Tremblay keeps that fast-paced suspense ongoing from beginning to end, and I think that that's pretty challenging and difficult to continuously keep the reader on edge like that. It is anxiety in written form. As a new writer myself, there are definite challenges in writing and some of the kind of baseline things that you learn right away. Things like show, don't just tell. Paul Tremblay so shows us everything. He's not just telling us what's going on, he's showing us, and you feel like you're inside of this cabin with this family. You feel like you're inside of the cabin with them. And that is highly successful of a story. I'm not saying this book is perfect. I'm going to talk about the one thing that I kind of disliked or would have done differently, but I absolutely give it 5 stars still because of, again, the pacing, the showing. I continued to think about it afterward. When you read a book that's fantastic and then you keep thinking about it, even if you don't agree with certain things, right? I didn't agree with the ending so much, but that doesn't matter. If you keep thinking about it, that's outstanding. The writer has then done a successful job, in my opinion. The book is 270 pages, and it's not until page 84 that the secret of this narrative is revealed, where we kind of understand as a reader what the hell is going on somewhat. There's still some mysteries that you're left with as a reader. For a writer to be able to write 84 pages where you're not understanding really as a reader what's coming, but you have some ideas and you're not bored. You're not really like angry, like, oh, this is too slow, this is boring, I need to put this down. 84 pages and you're sucked in the whole time. I love how Tremblay intertwines the different characters, like backgrounds and history. He does that throughout the book so that we, number one, as a reader, are invested with those characters, right? With certain characters, we're like, okay, we want them to be okay. We want them to get out of this alive and win. And it gives you some background so you're not confused on the different characters that he's presenting to you. So he does a great job of that. I love how he does it. And it's not confusing, but he'll easily go back and forth, even in one chapter, where he'll tell you a little bit about when and something about her growing up or an incident that happened. And you'll totally know as a reader, this is some backstory. And then he'll come right on back to the present moment. And it's not confusing. He does a great job of it. He switches the perspective of each character. And the title of that chapter might be called the character's name, right? When. So we know, okay, this is Wen's perspective. There's a couple of times where he repeats some sentences a few pages apart. And it gives you that jarred feeling of like, oh, we were with this character's perspective. Now we've backed up just a little bit, a few minutes, and now we're at this other character's perspective. So it's pretty trippy. It makes you feel a little weird. You feel kind of confused, but more in the way of, oh my God, I'm in that situation. Did that really happen? Did he just really bash this person over the head? Did they really just kill this person? You're very jarred and freaked out, and he accomplishes that so well. It was just eerie. It gave me anxiety, but in a good way. I want more anxiety from great writers. Okay, so the one thing that I wouldn't say I didn't like, I would just say I wasn't a big fan of the ending. And as a reader, but also as a writer, of course, I'm going to think how I would have done it differently. And I'm such a dark person when it comes to writing and the stuff I like to read about, that ultimately his end was, and I get it, he had a dark ending. When dies in the end, the little girl dies. That is extremely dark. However, the couple, the two dads, they end up surviving. All the intruders also die, and the couple survives, and in the end they kind of are continuing on into this world. He basically leaves these two married men together, and they love each other, and they're gonna stride on, and they're not gonna kill each other, and they don't believe the intruders really, and now their daughter is dead. That is a dark ending. However, I would have written it where ultimately in the very end, the intruders were simply crazy intruders, as they always are. To me, it would have been so freaking cool if in the end, the intruders were in fact just dark psychopaths. I gave it 4 stars at first. How did I bump it to 5? I'm gonna tell you, and it might seem ridiculous. It might seem like a ridiculous reason. In the book I have, at the very corner here, it says PS, insights, interviews, and more. This is fucking phenomenal. Paul Tremblay, the fact that you have this bumped you to a 5. I read the last page and I thought, damn, that's how this book's gonna end. What a great book. It had me going the entire time. I was on this journey with Wen, with her parents, in this cabin, but I didn't like that ending. Then I went and read Paul Tremblay's insights. It shed light on the reasons that he personally gave about why he ended the book that way. I got the reasoning and I thought, well, there you go. Well, that's 5. Then I'm gonna bump it to 5 stars. I still would have written it differently myself, but that doesn't mean it should just be a 4-star. It was epically great. He says that he had a much bleaker ending in mind, but for a variety of reasons, he couldn't do it and didn't want to do it. Then he writes on and says, I needed to go out on a note of defiant hope. The movie The Terminator, of all things, helped me reshape the end of the book. That movie ends with Sarah Connor in the desert, fleeing south, and a boy takes a Polaroid picture. The nice man from the future, the father of her son, would then carry around with him in the future and bring back with him to the past. She's sad because he's dead, and sad because Skynet is going to blow up the world. But, but she's still a badass, and she still will go on fighting. There's his reason for that ending, and that reason is good enough for me. That reason is the writer opening his heart and saying, here is why I ended it this way. And man, I wish all writers had a little section that said insights, and they just kind of provided like, here's why I did this, and Paul Tremblay is so humanized for doing that. He's such a human because he tells us, oh, not sure why I wanted to do this. I just knew I always wanted to have the color yellow in there because it kind of it represents death. Even if the reader didn't catch it, here's why I did it. And this is what I did. So it gives you insight and you're like, wow. And as a writer, you can learn from that. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And until next time, bye.